Hello and welcome back. So today's video is going to be for sixth grade math, all about how to convert between improper fractions and mixed numbers. Now, this may be something that you have practiced before in fourth grade and fifth grade, and that's totally fine. And this is just a review as we get further into our fractions unit, because in sixth grade, a lot of times what we do is we take what we learned in fifth grade about fractions and practice it again and kind of build on it a little bit. So this is always a good thing to review. Okay, so here's our first one. We're going to write 7 over 2 as a mixed number. So I'm going to rewrite 7 over 2 so that the denominator is just below the numerator. That's how I prefer to look at my fractions. However, when we type fractions, we use the slash button, as I'm sure you're aware. So an improper fraction is any fraction that has a numerator on the top that is bigger than the denominator or the number on the bottom. And what that means is it's more than one whole. So we can rewrite it as what we call a mixed number, where we have a whole number and a fraction next to it. So that's what we're going to do today. The easiest way to do that is to take the 7, or the number that's on top, and then to divide it by the number on the bottom, in this case, the 2. So the top number goes inside the division bracket and the bottom number goes on the outside of the division bracket. Now I'm going to start dividing. So 2 fits into 7 about 3 times, which would give me 6. And when I subtract that, I get 1 left over. So I don't need to keep dividing. I don't need to turn it into a decimal or anything. But here's how that answer becomes the mixed number. So whatever answer you get on the top here is your whole number. So in this case, we get a whole number of 3. The number that you get as your remainder becomes the numerator of the fraction. So that 1 becomes over here and becomes the numerator. Now you're going to keep your original denominator, which was 2. So 7 over 2 is the same as 3 and 1/2. That's how we change it from a mixed number to from a improper fraction to a mixed number. Now let's look about how we would go the other way. Let's say we were given 3 and 1/2 and asked to turn it into its improper fraction form. So since we used division before, the opposite of division is multiplication. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep the same denominator. So in both of these little conversion activities, the denominators don't change. They stay the same. So we're keeping the denominator of 2. But we have to figure out what number goes here on the top as our new numerator. So what we do is we take the denominator and we multiply it by the whole number. So that's 3 times 2. I'm going to put that over here, which gives us 6. And then once we've multiplied that, we add the numerator that is already on the top. So I'm going to add 1 to 6 and I get 7. So that is the numerator that goes on the top, which we knew was going to be the case because we started with that. Now we're right back where we started. But that's just a good way to show you how to do that and know that you're right. Okay, here's our next example. We're going to rewrite 7 over 4 as a mixed number. So I'm going to rewrite 7 over 4 here. And you remember from the last one, we used division. What we do is we take the top number, the numerator, and put it inside the division bracket. And then we divide it by the bottom number, or the denominator. So this is 7 divided by 4. 4 fits into 7 one time. 1 times 4 is 4. When I subtract it, I get 3 left over. So remember, this is how, even though it doesn't look like a mixed number, this is how we make it become a mixed number. The number on the top that you got as your answer becomes your whole number. So that's going to be a 1. The number you get as your remainder becomes the numerator of the fraction. So that 3 is going to go right there. And we're going to keep the denominator the same. So 7 over 4 is the same as 1 3/4. Okay, here is our next one. We're going to take 5 and 7 over 11 and rewrite it as an improper fraction. So let me rewrite that here, 5 and 7 over 11. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the opposite. When we're going from improper to mixed, we use division. So since we're going the other way now, we're going to use multiplication. We're going to keep that denominator of 11 the same. And then I need to figure out what number goes on the top as my numerator. So to do that, I'm going to multiply the 11 and the 5 to start. So I'm going to do 5 times 11, which gets me 55. And then I'm going to add the numerator that's already on the top, which is 7. When I add those two together, and sometimes it's hard for me to do that in my head, the regrouping, but I believe it is 62 when I do that. And here, just to make sure, I'll put the 7 down here. So that's 12. Yep, 62. Perfect. Doesn't hurt to double check yourself. So that is the numerator of this improper fraction, 62 over 11. Okay, here's our next one. We're going to take 32 over 3 and write it as a mixed number. So let me go ahead and rewrite 32 over 3. And this is the one where we're going to use division. So we're going to take the top number, which is 32 in this case, and divide it by the bottom number, which is 3. 3 fits into 3 once. 1 times 3 is 3. When I subtract that, I get 0 left over. Bring down the 2. Now 3 does not fit into 2, so I have to represent that with a 0. 0 times 3 is 0. When I subtract that, I get 2 left over. So here's how it becomes the mixed number. The number on the top I got as my answer becomes the whole number, so that's going to be 10. The number I got down here is my remainder, becomes the numerator of the fraction, and we keep the denominator of the fraction the same. So 32 over 3 is the same as 10 and 2/3. Now, if I wanted to take that 10 and 2/3 and rewrite it as an improper fraction or flip it back to an improper fraction, what I would do is I would keep the denominator of 3, so that stays the same, but I would have to multiply 3 times 10, 3 times 10 first, which would give me 30, and then add the 2 on the top, which brings me back to 32 over 3. So that's exactly where we started. So those two amounts are equivalent to each other. 32 over 3 is the same as 10 and 2/3. Okay, here is our last example for today. We're going to be taking 31 over 10 and rewriting that as a mixed number. So again, I'm going to use division by taking the top number of 31 and dividing it by the bottom number of 10. So 10 does not fit into 3, so I'd represent that with a 0, but 10 fits into 31 3 times. 3 times 10 is 30. When I subtract that, I get 1 left over. So this top number that I got as my answer is the whole number. The remainder I got becomes the numerator of the fraction, and I keep the denominator of the fraction the same, 3 1/10. If I was going the opposite way and taking 3 1/10 and making it an improper fraction, I'd be keeping the denominator of 10 the same, but I would be multiplying 3 times 10, 3 times 10, which is 30. And then I would be adding the one that's already there to get 31. And that becomes the numerator of the improper fraction, 31 over 10. And I know we're right because we're right back to where we started. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you in the next video soon.